Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, the United States has reimposed a new series of international sanctions against Iran, targeting its oil and banking sectors as part of Washington's efforts to pressure the Islamic Republic to abandon its malign activities. Iran has announced the production of a new domestic-made fighter aircraft, which aims at bolstering the Islamic Republic's aerial capabilities amid the growing tension with its regional rivals and the United States. Russian President Vladimir Putin praised the skill and unique abilities of Russia's military intelligence, which he said played a huge role in liquidating militant leaders and infrastructure in Syria. The United States has reimposed last night a new series of international sanctions against Iran, targeting its oil and banking sectors as part of Washington's efforts to pressure the Islamic Republic to abandon its malign activities around the world and agree to renegotiate an agreement over its nuclear program. The move, which was announced by U.S. President Donald Trump in May, will demand from international companies to choose between doing business with the United States or with Iran, a fact that saw hundreds of companies from across the world, including from Europe, abandoning the Islamic Republic. In an interview to CBS's Face the Nation, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo stressed that the world understands that the sanctions are important to bring about desperately needed change and will deprive the Islamic Republic of having the wealth to foment terror-related activities around the world.
European companies will not be permitted to do business with both the United States and with Iran. Frankly, since May, since the President's announcement of withdrawal from the ill-fated agreement, European companies have fled Iran in great numbers. Hundreds of businesses have departed Iran. The whole world understands that these sanctions are real, that they are important, that they drive the Iranian people's opportunity to make the changes in Iran that they so desperately want, and stop Iran from having the wealth and money that they need to continue to foment terror around the world.
According to President Donald Trump, the new sanctions regime are the strongest sanctions ever imposed against the Ayatollah regime, the latest in a series of measures that have derailed Iran's ability to take over the Middle East.
They're very strong. They're the strongest sanctions we've ever imposed. And we'll see what happens with Iran, but they're not doing very well, I can tell you. Iran is not doing very well. It's a big difference since I've been in office. When I came to office, if you go a day before, it looked like Iran was going to take over the Middle East. It was a question of literally less than years, very quickly. And now nobody's talking about that. So we'll see what happens. But the Iran sanctions have gone into effect. They're the strongest sanctions that our country has ever issued.
Meanwhile, in the Bulgarian city of Varna, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed the newly imposed sanctions against Iran, re-emphasizing the importance of uniting the world to confront Tehran's dangerous aspirations. Speaking at a meeting of leaders from Bulgaria, Serbia, Greece, and Romania, the Israeli Prime Minister underlined that the American sanctions had already forced the Islamic Republic to scale back on its market investments to terror organizations across the Middle East.
I want you to know that the sanctions that have already been imposed, we could see a marked decrease in the amount of money that goes to these various aggressive and terrorist activities of Iran. It's already showing its signs, and I believe that Iranian aggression will be further constricted by these sanctions, and I hope that all the countries here will join in this effort.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has also, for the first time, referred to the killing of journalist Kamal Khashoggi, which took place early last month in Saudi Arabia's consulate in Istanbul. While the Israeli leader condemned the alleged assassination as horrendous, he emphasized that the international community must not lose its focus on what's important, asserting the stability of Saudi Arabia as an imperative factor to confronting Iran's malign activities.
What happened in the Istanbul consulate was horrendous, and it should be duly dealt with. Yet at the same time, I say that it's very important for the stability of the world, of the region and of the world, that Saudi Arabia remain stable. And I think that a way must be found to achieve both goals, because I think that the larger problem is Iran, and I think that we have to make sure that Iran does not continue the malign activities that it has been doing over the last few weeks in Europe.
With regard to Iran's activities in Europe, Netanyahu confirmed that Israel had indeed unveiled the terror plots by the Islamic Republic security services in France and Denmark, a fact that clearly indicates that Tehran's malign activities know no bounds.
We have helped uncover 2 terrorist attacks, one in Paris and the other one in Copenhagen, organized by the Iranian Secret Service. And I think that blocking Iran is uppermost in our agenda for security, not merely for Israel, but I believe for Europe and the world as well.
Meanwhile, in the Islamic Republic, thousands of Iranians took to the streets to mark the 29th anniversary of the seizure of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. The incident, which took place on the 4th of November 1979, saw Iranian student activists, in coordination with radical Islamic clerics, storming the U.S. Embassy and taking 90 Americans hostage. 52 of the hostages were held captive for 444 days, with the students demanding the extradition of the deposed Shah from the United States. During this weekend's protests, which were widely broadcast on Iranian state television, the top commander of the Islamic Republic's Revolutionary Guards, Major General Muhammad Ali Jafari, vowed that the Islamic Republic would resist and defeat the United States.
و امروز تنها امیدشون به جنگ اقتصادی و جنگ روانی گسترده علیه ایران متمرکز شده. برنامه‌ریزی‌ها و توطئه‌های آمریکایی‌ها در رابطه با تحریم اقتصادی و تحریم ایران به یاری خدای متعال و با ادامه مقاومت آگاهانه مردم و مسئولین ما انشاءالله شکست خواهد خورد به یاری خدای متعال.
Meanwhile, the Islamic Republic supreme leader told his followers during his weekly teachings that the United States was on the decline. According to Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Washington's efforts would not last long, as the power of the United States and its policy of soft power have worn out, which ultimately means its gradual demise.
اون کسانی که گرایش به این دارن که بریم با آمریکایی‌ها سازش کنیم، بیخودی نقشه بی اساس و بی پایه میکشند. آمریکا رو به افوله.
Now to another matter, Iran has announced the production of a new domestic-made fighter aircraft which aims at bolstering the Islamic Republic's aerial capabilities amid the growing tension with its regional rivals and the United States.
به زودی تعداد قابل توجهی به تعداد مورد نیاز از این هواپیما تولید خواهد شد و در خدمت نیروی هوایی ارتش جمهوری اسلامی ایران قرار خواهد گرفت.
The Iranian announcement comes less than a week after the U.S. military said it successfully tested the strategic Aegis missile defense system that would render Iranian medium-range ballistic missiles redundant. According to an unnamed source, this was the second successful testing of the American-made missile system, which will provide the U.S. Missile Defense Agency more confidence after the reported design flaws had previously caused intercept failures. Now to Moscow, where Russian President Vladimir Putin praised the skill and unique abilities of Russia's military intelligence in a show of support for the Kremlin's intelligence agency. Speaking at a closed ceremony at the Russian Army's theater in Moscow, which was broadcast on national television, Putin thanked military intelligence officers for their huge role in liquidating militant leaders and infrastructure in Syria. While President Putin saluted Moscow's agents for carrying out daring special operations, which according to him provided a model for a future generation, the Russian leader also stressed the need to help the Russian intelligence agency develop and upgrade its capabilities. Thank you for watching us. Keep praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have a Erev Tov and Shavua Tov. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time.